20 doctors stood frozen as the machine screamed in sharp, uneven beeps. The room smelled of antiseptic and fear. A man who could buy entire cities lay helpless, his chest rising with effort, his breath borrowed from machines. Money had built him empires, but tonight it could not buy him one more heartbeat. This was Ethan Blackwood, billionaire, tycoon, untouchable legend, now reduced to a fragile body fighting to stay alive. Only hours earlier, Ethan had been commanding a boardroom, his voice calm and ruthless, deciding the fate of thousands of employees with a single nod. He had collapsed mid-sentence. No warning, no pain, just sudden darkness. By the time his private jet landed, the world already knew. News channels flashed his face. Markets trembled. His name trended across continents. Yet inside the ICU, none of that mattered. Here, power meant nothing. Doctors surrounded him, the best money could summon. Renowned specialists flown in from Europe, Asia, America. Each one had trophies of success, books written, awards framed on office walls. They debated numbers, scans, and charts, their voices low but tense. Every test returned clean. Heart strong, brain intact, blood normal. And yet, Ethan was dying, and no one could explain why. Outside the glass walls, his wife Victoria sat with perfect posture, dressed in black silk, her face a flawless mask of grief. Cameras captured her wiping tears, her hands trembling just enough to look real. She had mastered this performance long ago. To the world, she was the devoted wife praying for a miracle. But when the cameras left, her eyes hardened. She checked her phone. Missed calls. Messages she didn't open. A life waiting beyond this hospital room, 20 years younger than Ethan. Victoria had married wealth, not the man. She loved his status, the doors his name opened, the power she wielded as Mrs. Blackwood. Love had never been part of the contract. And now, as she sat listening to doctors whisper words like unexplained and critical, something dangerous stirred inside her. Not fear, but impatience. At the far end of the hallway, unnoticed by anyone important, stood Martha. She wore a simple uniform, hands folded tightly in front of her, eyes fixed on the glass. Her skin was dark, her hair tied back neatly, her face lined by years of quiet labor. She had cleaned Ethan's house for 25 years. She had watched him grow from a hungry, driven young man, sleeping on a couch, to one of the richest men alive. She had seen his first failure, his first success, his first heartbreak. She knew his silences better than anyone in that hospital. And one asked her why she was there. The doctors. She was just staff. To Victoria, she was invisible. But to Ethan, once long ago, she had been the only person who cared whether he ate or slept or smiled. As the night deepened, Ethan's condition worsened. His heart rhythm faltered. His body reacted violently to medications that should have helped. One doctor slammed his pen onto the clipboard in frustration. Another removed his glasses, rubbing tired eyes. They had never faced something like this, a patient deteriorating without cause. Victoria stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. "So what are you saying?" she asked, her voice trembling just enough. "You don't know what's wrong with my husband?" A heavy silence followed. "We are doing everything possible," one doctor replied carefully. "But his condition doesn't follow any known pattern." Victoria nodded slowly, turning away before her expression could betray her relief. Everything possible. Still failing. Martha watched closely. Too closely. She noticed things others didn't. The timing. Ethan's reactions. The way his body worsened after certain hours. After certain routines. She remembered how he used to complain of headaches years ago, only after specific meals. How he reacted badly to certain supplements. She remembered because she was the one who cooked for him, the one who watched him closely when no one else did. She stepped forward, clearing her throat softly. "Excuse me," she said, barely above a whisper, and no one responded. She tried again, louder this time. "Doctor, there is something." Victoria turned sharply. "This is a restricted area," she snapped. "Staff are not allowed to interfere." Martha froze, humiliation burning her chest. She lowered her eyes, stepping back. But she didn't leave. Hours passed. Machines beeped faster. A nurse whispered urgently to a doctor. The word crash floated through the air like a curse. One of the specialists shook his head. If this continues, he may not survive till morning. Victoria pressed a hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking. But inside, her heart raced, not with sorrow, but with anticipation. Everything was aligning. Soon, the empire would be hers. No more pretending. No more waiting. Martha's hands trembled. She leaned against the wall, tears silently forming. She remembered Ethan as a young man, standing in the kitchen late at night, exhausted, thanking her for a simple meal like it was a gift. She remembered how success had changed him, hardened him, pulled him away from the people who truly cared. But she never stopped caring. She watched as a nurse adjusted in 4. The liquid flowed steadily into Ethan's veins. Something about it made her heart pound. A faint smell. Familiar. Too familiar. Her eyes widened. She knew that smell that IT was subtle, barely noticeable. But she had smelled it for years, in the kitchen, in supplements, in health drinks delivered daily to the mansion. Drinks Victoria insisted Ethan consume, claiming they were good for his heart. Drinks Martha was no longer allowed to prepare herself. Martha's breath caught. She stepped forward again, fear and urgency battling inside her. "Please," she said, voice shaking but firm now. "You need to stop that." A doctor turned, irritated. "Ma'am, step back. That medicine," she said quickly, pointing. "It makes him worse. Every time." Silenced, Victoria's eyes flashed with anger. "This woman is confused," she snapped. "She's just a cleaner." But one doctor hesitated. He looked at the monitor, then at Ethan's vitals, then back at Martha. "What do you mean, every time?" Martha swallowed hard. "I have watched him for many years," she said softly. "When he takes certain things, his body reacts. He gets weak. His breathing changes. This has happened before. Not like this, but similar." The doctor frowned. "Why wasn't this mentioned earlier?" "They never asked," she replied. Victoria laughed sharply. "This is ridiculous. You're listening to a housekeeper overtrained professionals." But the damage was done. Doubt had entered the room. The doctor signaled to pause the 4. Almost immediately, Ethan's heart rate steadied, just slightly. Barely noticeable, but enough. Another doctor stepped closer to the monitor. "That's interesting." Victoria's face drained of color. Martha's knees nearly buckled. She hadn't planned this. She hadn't wanted confrontation. She only wanted Ethan to live. A tense silence filled the room as doctors exchanged looks. One of them ordered further tests on the 4 contents, the supplements listed in Ethan's chart, the substances he had been consuming daily. Victoria backed away slowly, her mind racing that Ethan's breathing stabilized. Not cured, not safe, but no longer slipping away. Martha closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. Outside, the night pressed against the hospital windows, heavy with secrets. Inside, a truth was beginning to surface, one that powerful people had tried very hard to hide. And as the machines finally quieted, just a little, one thing became terrifyingly clear. The doctors had missed something obvious, and the woman everyone ignored had just changed everything.